Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So, guys, we see a quote that's attributed to Jesus from the Gospel of Thomas. And it says, "The Pharisees and the scribes have taken the keys of knowledge, gnosis, and hidden them. They themselves have not entered, nor have they allowed to enter those who wish to. You, however, be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves." That is an interesting statement, wouldn't you say?
Indeed. Very interesting.
And so the Gospel of Thomas is thought of as a Gnostic gospel, and a very interesting one to read. Now, a little while ago, we did a video on the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which is all about getting rid of unwanted astral forces, forces that are in the ether, lower level entities. It's great for clearing a space. And whether we're talking about discarnate human spirits, astral ticks and leeches, or something even bigger, it really does work amazingly well. And I told you guys that I would do a video talking about the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram. And this is that. So the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram, this one's done by Constantinos, and it's a little bit more involved than the pentagram ritual, but flows very similarly. So there's going to be some things you're going to see in there. One of the things is basically putting your body into certain positions. And as you see here, these are those positions. Osiris slain. So in case you guys don't know, Osiris is a Egyptian god. And basically a dying resurrection god. And Isis is basically his wife. And also like a mother goddess. Apophis is basically the destroyer. It's a god of destruction. And we'll take a look more in depth into these entities, or what they symbolize. And then we have Osiris risen. So you see hand placement are in different places. So Osiris slain is very much like Christ on the cross. And then Isis, the right hand up, left hand down, head looking over the left shoulder. Apophis is basically a V. And then Osiris risen is with his arms crossed. And here we see the positions relative to looking at the tree of life superimposed on a human in a meditative position. And so that is interesting in and of itself, as it's representing different aspects of consciousness and also making reference to the chakras. And what we are going to be doing is forming triangles. And so in the east, you see these two triangles look kind of like pyramids, and they are one slightly above the other. In the south, we see the six-pointed star, or the Star of David, as so many people know. And then over onto the lower left, towards the west, we see two triangles with their bases touching. And then we see just the opposite to the north, two triangles with the points touching. And then here we see invoking and banishing hexagrams. We're just going to work on the banishing part in this particular video. So you see basically the direction you're going to flow from. And, they do symbolize, again, the elements, as well as other things. Now, just to recap, because it's standard practice to start always with the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And so in the pentagram ritual, basically you're doing a 5-pointed star. And when the star is with the point up, that's symbolizing the superiority of the spirit over the physical. The other 4 points are symbolizing the 4 elements that you're very familiar with. You see it as like a silvery blue light. And then there's also Inri. And many of you might recognize this if you have a Catholic crucifix, and you see Inri up above Jesus' head. And basically it comes down to meaning Jesus, the Nazarene King of the Jews. So in this ritual, you're equating Osiris and Jesus together in some ways. And again, this is an overview. Osiris is considered to be one of the most important gods during the time of ancient Egypt, considered to be the god of life, death, and fertility. And then Apophis was the Egyptian spirit of evil, darkness, and destruction. Archenemy of the sun god Ra, he was a malevolent force who could never be entirely vanquished. Every night as the sun traveled through the underworld or across the sky, his roar would fill the air and he would launch his attack. And so he also was equated with Set or Seth as well. Many of these ones basically merge when you get down to it, and many people believe they're all representative of just basically different forces, natural forces, and some think that they are representing actual beings as well. And we have Typhon, because Typhon and Apophis are equated in this ritual, and Typhon is Greek and the youngest son of Gaia, and basically described as a grisly monster with 100 dragons' heads, who was conquered and cast to the underworld by Zeus. So it's interesting how all these things go together. Isis, or Aset in Egyptian. Aset is often referred to by her Greek name Isis. She was the sister and wife of the god Osiris. Yes, yeah, you read that right. But that's just the way things were back in those days. We see it in the Bible too. Aset stood to protect the birth of children, mothers, and home. Her name literally translates to Queen of the Throne. And then we have also a formula, and that is EAO. And that is something that could be looked at in a couple of different lights as well. And let's jump over to here. And Samael On Wior has written some really good basic books on Gnosticism, Hermeticism, and very interesting stuff. And so EAO is equated to Jovis Pater, or Jupiter again, whom the Jews called Yahweh, according to his translation and others' translations as well. Many have basically equated Jupiter with Yahweh, or Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. So this is basically equating it along those lines, and so does the ritual, basically, those energies. And here we see the name Yahweh is from the pagan Gnostic Iao-Ue as well. Interesting too when you see the representations, as this is one of the representations that we see of Iao. Basically serpents down at the feet, and here you have birds' wings, a bird's head. Interesting representations, to say the least. So the hexagram is a powerful symbol representing the operation of the 7 planets under the presidency of the Sephiroth. The Sephiroth are those points on the tree of life. And so we have the 7-lettered name, Ararita. The hexagram is sometimes called the signet star, or the symbol of the macrocosm, just as the pentagram is called the signet star, or the symbol of the microcosm. That's why, these so often go together, because the thought is, by doing this, you could banish negative aspects of planetary positions. So, say Mercury is in retrograde, this would alleviate, theoretically, this would alleviate that issue. Interesting, right?
Extremely, coming from an astrologer's point of view. I love that. I never knew that. I love it.
Yeah, so that's what this has done, so that the person performing it, if you're in magic circles and referring to yourself as a magician, you're basically creating a blank slate from which to go ahead and impose your will, which, again, what you're doing here also is you're tapping into your higher self, you're tapping into source, you're tapping into the divine which lies in all of us. And by doing that, you're calling everything to work under your will. And so in here, again, when we're doing Enri and referring to the Christ consciousness, the Christ self, and many believe Osiris is in some ways the predecessor of that energy, the dying and resurrected God. What you're doing is you're basically exerting your authority through the Christ energy to go ahead and to exert that influence, so you're negating the negative aspects of whatever planetary aspects are out there. And so it's really an interesting ritual to do, and I'll have all the links here for you guys to go through as well. So how to perform it? Well, you could perform it again with either a pointer finger or a wand. Some people again will do a dagger. I like to just use my fingers, as I am a energy healer, and so I don't want to use any other sorts of tools. It just basically, it's the connection with yourself, with the higher energies. So first you would perform the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which we have on this channel, making sure to finish the ritual with the Kabbalistic cross, which is a part of that. And that's basically where you're drawing down that Christ energy into you. Extend your arms to form a cross and say Inri, and you vibrate it. Like Inri, you extend out. You have to feel the vibrations. You must feel the vibrations going through your entire body, because you're waking up your chakras and you're also getting rid of any stagnant energy. So extend your arms out to form a cross and say Inri, then say Yod, Nun, Resh, Yod. And you make these symbols, which are the Hebrew letters for what you just did. Trace each of these Hebrew letters in the air from right to left as they are pronounced. Visualize them glowing in the same blue light as the pentagrams in the LBRP. Extend your arms into a cross once more and say the sign of Osiris slain. Keep your left arm extended. Raise your right arm straight up so as pointing to the ceiling. Your fingers should be together and extended, and your palms should face forward. It should look as if your arms are forming the letter L. Look over your left shoulder and say L, the sign of the morning of Isis. And, that's in reference to Isis when she was in mourning, when Set had killed Osiris and chopped him up into a whole bunch of little pieces and scattered them all over the world. And then she went and she rounded them all up, except for one little important part, unfortunately. And resurrect them with the health of Thoth. So raise both of your arms, palms forward, to form the letter V. The angle between them should be about 60 degrees. Tilt your head back and say V, the sign of Typhon and Apophis. Cross your arms on your chest to form the letter X with your palms facing you. Bow your head and say X, the sign of Osiris risen. Now form each letter with your arms as is pronounced, and basically extend your arms to form the Osiris slain position and say LVX, Lux, which means light. What is it now? What the Romans used to speak? Latin. Yes, Latin. So LVX, Lux. And then keep your arms extended and say the light, and pause a moment, seeing it and visualizing it. Fold your arms on your chest in an X again and say of the cross. Now extend your arms to form a cross again as you say the following oration. Slowly start to raise them up to a V position as you're doing it, while gradually tilting your head back. Virgo, Isis, Mighty Mother, Scorpio, Apophis, Destroyer, Soul, Osiris, slain and risen. Isis, Apophis, Osiris, and then strongly vibrate E-A-O, and your head should be tilted back completely by now, and your arms should be in the shape of a V. Become aware of a glowing white brilliance above you and say, let the divine light descend. Slowly lower your arms to form an X on your chest again, and as you do so, feel the divine light descending through the body. Let it energize you for a few moments. Walk to the east of your circle and trace the banishing hexagram of fire in a flaming golden light with your finger or wand over your still shining blue pentagram. The hexagrams are not attributed to the placement of the elements in the four quarters, but rather to the zodiacal placement of each element. Therefore, for this ritual, fire is in the east, earth is in the south, air is in the west, and water is in the north. Then charge your hexagram in the same way you charge the pentagrams in the LBRP, this time vibrating Ararita. And then walk to the south of the circle, tracing a white line in the air like in the LBRP. Trace the banishing hexagram of earth with your finger or wand and charge this hexagram, vibrating Ararita. Walk to the west of the circle. Tracing the line of white, trace the banishing hexagram of air, charge it as before, vibrating Ararita. And then walk to the north of the circle, still tracing the line of white to the air, trace the banishing hexagram of water and charge it, once again vibrating Ararita. Complete your circle by carrying the light to the east again. Around you should be 4 pentagrams and 4 hexagrams, with the latter superimposed over the former, blazing in the respective colors of blue and gold at the 4 quarters of your circle. Contemplate their presence. And then to close this rite, you either repeat the analysis of the keyword again, or perform the Kabbalistic cross again. If you are about to perform some type of magic, I recommend you do the analysis again, as the divine light can aid you in your working. In this ritual, instead of vibrating 4 different names of power to charge the hexagram, one word, Ararita, was used. This is an abbreviation for the Hebrew phase. 1 is his beginning, 1 is his individuality, his permutation is 1. The importance of the above 2 rituals cannot be overstressed. To practice evocations or any other type of ceremonial magic, you have to come in contact with pure and divine energies. The banishing rituals consecrate your work area and make it a holy place where these energies can descend upon you. These rituals also have to be performed after your magical work is done to make sure any forces that were invoked or evoked are effectively banished. And so I wanted to share that with you guys, just for those who are interested. I know there's a ton out there that would be right now running down the street, pulling their hair out, screaming, saying, "Get behind me, Satan." Other people, are going to view it and say, well, that's interesting, and really look at how things go together and comparing the different systems, as you have, Judeo-Christian here intermingled with the Egyptian and the Gnostic in some ways too. So it's really interesting to see these rituals. Some people enjoy performing, some people just like to learn and contemplate. So as always, my friends, thank you for your support, especially on Patreon and Ko-Fi, so we keep the channel going. And as always, like, share, subscribe. I look forward to your comments. May you guys be blessed with abundant peace, love, health, happiness, and all good things. God bless and namaste.